Let's go change the pace to the outstanding financial mind of Adam Creighton on critical issues coming out of the coronavirus alarmism. Adam, thank you for your time. You've written that the technology revolution is going to disrupt education, employment and jobs. Are our children being educated for the future?
Well, look, certainly the job market at the moment has been actually performing pretty well, but I thought it's it's worth taking a big step back and thinking about what might happen in the decades to come, and certainly I think it is a concern. It's going to be harder for our advanced societies to create jobs. I mean, the share of the population that is in work has been steadily shrinking throughout history. If you go back centuries, of course, 90% of people would be working. Right now the labour force is about half of the population, about 12 million, and the reality is that's going to continue to shrink in time.
Terrible. I noticed those official figures, 179,000 rise in employment. That's what they said. But isn't this more a return to employment?
Yes, look, that's right. There was a big jump in October of about 179,000, which was much, much larger than what economists expected. But yes, that's right. The total employment is still below where it was in March. The jobless rate is about 7% now, which of course is much higher than it was back in March. So there is still some way to go there on the job front, but certainly it's looking a bit more optimistic than it was a few months ago.
Yes, look, when I'm talking to you on this issue, I'm thinking of the kids who worry about where they're going to be in 10 years' time. I mean, you wrote, and I thought it was a superb point to make, if we're to be informed by the past or the Industrial Revolution way back, we saw jobs replaced. And you quote Keynes in his 1930 essay, which is 90 years ago, quote, in quite a few years, you said, Keynes said, in our own lifetime, we may be able to perform all the operations of agriculture, mining and manufacturing with a quarter of the human effort to which we have been accustomed. So here we are. Is technology going to put millions of people out of work?
Well, look, I think it probably will. I mean, we don't want to be too pessimistic, but, Keynes' forecast was for in 10 years' time. Sure, he might be out by a decade or two, but the reality is, machines are getting smarter and smarter, artificial intelligence and so forth. And human intelligence, of course, is fixed. I mean, we're no smarter intellectually than Julius Caesar was. Probably a bit less, in fact, maybe. But artificial intelligence is getting faster and faster, and kind of up until this point, machines have made workers more productive, through various tools, whether they be surgeons' tools or vacuum cleaners or whatever. But the reality is they are catching up, and they only need to be just as good as humans because, they don't get sick, they don't file compensation claims. So, look, it's a scary future, I think, for young people now.
I think so, you see, and we're accelerating towards that. Now, for example, with coronavirus, communication changed. People are not working from an office. What's to happen to all the high-rise office space? University students studied from home. They did their assignments online. What's the future of all these expensive university buildings? And what happens to what happens to the standard of living versus the cost of living if there's no wage growth?
Well, just on the university point, Alan, I think it's really worth dwelling on. I mean, we've got something like 39 universities in Australia, and we duplicate the same academics at every single one. What is the point in that? We could just have the best academics basically teaching everyone online, and it sounds harsh, but get rid of all the rest. We'd certainly save a lot of money, and that would be making use of, the latest technology. I think that is certainly where the world is headed. I mean, the structure of the university as it is now is very much early 20th century, and, I think it's going to go the way of the dodo.
I think we'll have to find a segment one week, and perhaps next week we'll do this on the superannuation. I want to raise this with you tonight. It is the big new issue, and there are a million views on it. Firstly, for our viewers, it is taxed at a concession rate. Now, on the last estimate, I think there were about $40 billion. Now, we've got about $3 trillion in superannuation. But there's $40 billion in tax concessions. That means that's $40 billion that the government is virtually giving to those people in compulsory superannuation. Then you've got this rip-off in fees by management or quote-unquote trustees, which is about $32 billion. So you've got an amount of money here greater than the total cost of the age pension.
It's a policy tragedy, Alan, and the only people who say it's fantastic are the industry themselves and, of course, Labor luminaries like Paul Keating. I mean, it really is. It'll be a great tragedy for Australia if that rate goes from 9.5 to 12, because it's certainly not in the interest of the ordinary man. And you're quite right there on the tax concessions. I mean, it's on track now where the tax concessions will be worth twice the age pension. So you can pay the age pension twice over and still have money left over, still have cash left over.
But the other thing,
it doesn't save the government.
The other thing that bothers me is when you're talking about a $3 trillion investment capacity, then you've got these trustees practicing their woke theories, and they'll refuse to invest in, say, coal-fired power. Do the interests of the superannuants become secondary to the ideology of the overpaid trustees?
Yes, well, of course, I think that is basically true. I mean, the trustees, make decisions supposedly on the behalf of the workers' funds, but of course, in reality, as we know, they push all sorts of political agendas, which would certainly not reflect the views of the underlying members. That is certainly true. It's a brave new world. That's why I think it's very important that the Morrison government takes very seriously stopping the increase to 12. It is the most important policy issue in this country, without a question.
It is. And look, just on that, I mean, the Morrison, it's supposed to be a Liberal government where there's supposed to be choice. Well, we've seen in coronavirus, no choice. We're told what to do. We're told what to do. Surely
it's
to
the
God.
Same philosophy.
Yeah, same philosophy. Why shouldn't this be optional? You should say, well, hang on, I'd rather have the money now. I'm not sure I'll live till I'm 60, but I want to give a good lifestyle to my kids. I want to have a nice house and I'll look after myself in retirement. What is wrong with giving the worker the choice? What's wrong with that?
And it's worse for the poorest workers, Alan. I mean, the poorest 30% of workers get a massive pay rise when they retire, which obviously shows that they're being forced to save far too much during their working life if they're getting a huge pay rise when they turn 65. Extraordinary. And they should have the choice. Absolutely, they should have the choice. It just treats everyone like an idiot, this system, a complete idiot.
Absolutely, Adam. And the other point then is this, that you say, I've got to the age pension. Well, you've got to fill out 55,000 forms to validate whether you're entitled to an age pension or not. Yeah. Why wouldn't it be easy to say, OK, listen, we'll give everyone the age pension, add that to your own savings and you're on your own?
Well, that is certainly the best way, but the bureaucracy would hate that because it would reduce all the means testing and all the checking, and of course the financial elites would hate it too. So, that would certainly be the most sensible policy. But let's discuss that in more detail some other time.
All right, Adam. Great to talk to you. Always wonderful to talk to you. Thank you for what you do.
Thanks, Alan.
Adam Creighton. You can read him in The Australian. He's outstanding. Back after the break.